One viral moment made her unforgettable, but the world never knew what she was battling behind that smile. Most people remember Sydney Hardeman as the young fan whose stunned, wide-eyed reaction in Beyonce's Homecoming documentary became one of the most iconic clips the Beyhive ever shared. For millions, she represented pure joy, the girl who waited 12 hours just to see her idol take the stage. But years later, her story took a heartbreaking turn no one ever saw coming. It all began with 12 hours of waiting under the desert sun. Because long before the world knew her name, Sydney Hardeman was just a determined Beyonce fan begging her mom for a single Coachella ticket. A moment her mother now remembers with a bittersweet smile. Sydney wasn't the type to take no for an answer when it came to Beyonce, and after convincing her mom, she packed up with her brother and best friend and traveled all the way from Texas to California just for one night she believed would change her life. And somehow it did. She was the first one through the gate, sprinting like her life depended on it, gripping the barricade in front of the main stage and refusing to let go. For 12 hours, she stood there, no shade, no real break, just adrenaline, excitement, and the kind of devotion that only true fans understand. And when Beyonce finally appeared, Sydney's face said everything: shock, awe, pure joy. That split-second expression was captured on camera, handpicked by Beyonce's team, and immortalized in the Netflix documentary Homecoming. Within days, she became a meme, a reaction, a symbol of every fan who ever lost their mind seeing their idol for the first time. The Beyhive adored her instantly. But behind the memes and joy, something deeper was happening. Because Sydney wasn't just a reaction on screen, she had a whole world off camera. She was a massive Beyonce fan long before Coachella ever happened. She even won a senior year award for a dance medley she performed to Beyonce's songs. She played basketball from childhood through college, always pushing herself to be better, always making her family proud. Later, she became a flight instructor in Texas, disciplined, focused, trusted with people's lives in the sky. Everyone who knew her described her as warm, funny, energetic, the kind of person who made any room feel brighter just by being in it. But as much as she lit up everyone else's world, her own was dimming in ways she didn't talk about. And this is where the story turns. Because for all the joy Sydney shared online, her family slowly began to notice subtle shifts, changes in her mood, her energy, her spark. It started after her grandfather passed away, a loss that hit her far harder than she ever let the world see. She kept moving, kept working, kept smiling in photos. But something inside her had quietly cracked. Her family tried to help. They encouraged her to speak to someone, to get counseling, to lean on support instead of carrying everything alone. She agreed. She made the appointments. But each time, she canceled them. Not because she didn't want help, but because whatever she was fighting wasn't something she could easily put into words. And on the outside, life looked almost perfect. She was engaged. She had a wedding planned for April. She had a career, friends, a family who adored her. She was building a future everyone assumed she was excited about. But internally, she was battling something unspoken, something heavy enough that even the people closest to her couldn't fully see how deep it went. And then last Saturday, everything changed forever. Her mother's voice breaks when she says it, because no parent ever expects to speak these words out loud. Sydney Hardeman, the girl whose joy lit up an entire documentary, took her own life at just 25 years old. Her story ended in a way no one around her ever imagined. There was no dramatic warning, no clear explanation, only unanswered questions and a family trying desperately to understand how someone so vibrant, so full of love, could disappear so suddenly. Her family is still trying to piece together the why. They replay conversations, tiny moments that didn't feel serious at the time. They look at photos where she's smiling, trying to reconcile them with the silent battles she kept hidden. And through all of this, they've asked for compassion, no judgment, no sensationalism, just understanding for a young woman who struggled quietly and loved deeply. But what her mother said next is what shook fans the most. In her grief, she turned her pain into a message. Because even through heartbreak, Sydney's mom chose to speak directly to the very community that had embraced her daughter. Her voice trembled as she said, "You guys haven't gotten to the good part yet." A reminder that life doesn't peak at 18 or 25, and that sometimes the best chapters are still ahead, even when it feels like everything hurts right now. She urged young fans to lean on their village, to stop pretending to be strong all the time, to understand that vulnerability doesn't make you weak. It lets the people who love you actually show up. Sometimes you just need to be vulnerable so people can help you, she said, speaking to anyone who hides their pain behind jokes, memes, or bright smiles, the same way Sydney sometimes did. And then she shared the words that broke everyone listening. Sydney never meant to leave you. She loved all of you. It wasn't blame. It wasn't anger. It was love and a plea for every young person to speak up, seek support, and ask for help when they need it. And what happened next reminded everyone why Sydney was so loved. Because Sydney's moment didn't end with a documentary. In the days after the news broke, something remarkable happened online. Fans across the world began posting the iconic clip again, her eyes wide, her hands flying to her face, pure joy bursting across her expression. The moment Beyonce stepped on stage, Sydney had become every fan in one instant, unfiltered, electric, unforgettable. That clip is now everywhere. Edits, tributes, slideshows, the Beyhive is filling timelines with her laughter. Her tweets about Beyonce, her old videos, her photos, and memories fans never even realized they shared with her. People who didn't even know her name a week ago are writing entire paragraphs about how her happiness touched them. And maybe that's the most meaningful part of her legacy, that the joy she felt in that one moment, the joy that Beyonce captured and immortalized in Homecoming, will live forever. A reminder that even a single honest reaction can outshine an entire stadium. But her story leaves us with one final message. Sydney's life shows us that even the brightest smiles can hide battles nobody else can see. She brought joy to millions without ever trying. And though her life ended far too soon, the light she shared, that unforgettable moment of pure emotion, will continue to echo across the world. If there's one thing her story teaches us, it's that vulnerability isn't weakness. Reaching out doesn't make you a burden. Talking to someone, a friend, a parent, a counselor, can change everything. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply say, "I need help." Sydney was loved. She mattered. And the joy she brought into the world will never fade. If this story touched you, check on someone today. And remember to take care of yourself too.